Week 2 of the Oscar Pistorius trial, a grim day in court indeed. Let's begin with the technicalities. Professor Gert Simon up in the witness stand, the pathologist who conducted the post-mortem on Reeva Steenkamp's body. But he began by making a statement to the court saying he did not want his testimony to be streamed live either on camera or audio because he wanted to respect the dignity of the deceased and also the dignity of the family. He said his duty as a medical practitioner was not to cause harm and to respect the dignity of the deceased and to protect them in any way he could. And he felt that by broadcasting this live, it would have a serious impact. Also, he spoke about the moral constraints of society, that perhaps a child could listen in and that this would be very damaging because it is such graphic evidence. The court upheld Simon's request, and then there was a media blackout, including live tweeting. Effectively, the order prohibited the media from reporting on the trial in real time. There was a lot of confusion at first, but it was eventually agreed that the media could provide summaries of what had happened with no direct quotes. So we can summarize the evidence that was led, but there are no direct quotes to be had of Gert Simon's testimony. To his actual testimony, it was indeed very graphic. He spoke about the injuries that Reeva Steenkamp would have sustained when Oscar Pistorius shot her through that locked toilet door. He said the bullets would have hit her on the hip, on the arm, on the head, and also between the fingers. It's not clear if that bullet between the fingers was a secondary injury and maybe some kind of defensive wound. That has not been cleared yet in court, but the other bullets caused extensive damage. The ammunition that Oscar Pistorius used is known as black talon. The manufacturers, the original manufacturers of that ammunition, Winchester, have actually taken it off the market, but it's being resold under another name. And black talon is the kind of ammunition that is designed to cause maximum damage. The bullet hits, it expands, it mushrooms, and certainly the details of the injury sustained would bear testimony to the fact that this bullet was designed to kill. The bullet that hit Reeva's hip was so hard and fractured the hip bone so dramatically that it caused so many splinters they couldn't even retrieve all the fragments of the bullet. Again, the skull was fractured in many pieces. The arm would have lost functionality and she would have suffered brain damage. Professor Simon also spoke about the fact that Reeva Steenkamp ate a small meal around 1 o'clock in the morning. When we die, everything that's in the body that we've eaten remains, and you're able to tell kind of what time the last meal was had. This contradicts Oscar Pistorius' testimony. In his bail application, he said the couple was sleeping from 10 o'clock. There's no mention of any eating of a small meal around 1 o'clock in the morning or any of them actually getting up. He maintains they were sleeping at that time. Further, Simon spoke about a small abrasion on Reeva Steenkamp's back, which was the kind of injury sustained by a blunt object, but he gave no detail as to what that object might have been. In court itself, it was very sober. It was hard evidence to listen to, very graphic. Oscar Pistorius literally heaved, retched, and vomited throughout the entire proceedings. In fact, at one point, the court orderly had to remove the microphone so that we couldn't hear the noise. It was so loud and so disturbing. And then they brought in a black bucket so that he could actually throw up in this bucket throughout the proceedings. It got so bad at one point that the judge said to Advocate Barry Rue, "Don't you want to attend to your client?" And he said, "My lady, it's not going to do any good. It's going to continue throughout the case. He is so emotionally traumatized by this." Certainly he did look distraught in all the recesses. He was comforted by family and friends, but throughout it all, he simply could not look up. He did not look at Simon, I would say, more than on one occasion throughout this testimony. For the most part, his head was in his hands, his shoulders shook, he retched, he heaved, and he vomited.